Close it out and open
Rain.
it again. Close it out and open
Close it out and open it.
Close it out.
Aye.
Open it again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. The school board meeting of June 24th, 2014 is now called to order. The time is 6:02 p.m.
Oh, there it is.
At this time, we request that all cellular phones and/or pagers be turned off or be put in the silent mode. Also, we ask that you please refrain from using flash photography except during special presentations portion of the meeting. We would like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student reaches his or her highest personal potential and the district's vision to be a world-class school system. Mr. Scott is ill and he will not be joining us this evening. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, 3 recognitions, 1 staff presentation to the board, public comment, consent action items which include 1 item under Executive Services, 12 items under Business and Finance, 24 items under Operations, 15 items under Teaching and Learning, 8 superintendent recommendations, 1 attorney's recommendation, and 1 item under public hearings, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher, seconded by Mr. Armstrong. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Mrs. Dozier will deliver the invocation, after which Mr. Armstrong will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Please bow your heads. Dear God, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here this evening at this school board meeting. We ask that you bless each person that is present here this evening, and we also ask that you have your guiding hand on them as they retire to their homes after the meeting is over. We ask that you guide the superintendent as she brings forth all of her recommendations this evening. Please be with each board member and guide us during all of our discussions and give us the wisdom to make the right decisions concerning every issue that we face. Let us make the decisions that are in the best interest of the children that we serve in this community. We pray that this community will be that this meeting will be successful, productive, and blessed. For this, we give you the glory for what we are about to accomplish this evening. Amen.
Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. After the special presentations portion of the agenda, I will call a brief recess to allow those who wish to depart an opportunity to do so. Thank you.
All of you can hear me. I would like to invite Jason Sill to please join me here at the lectern. Mr. Sill is the supervisor of our TV productions. There you go, Jason. Recently, our Lee County School District TV student interns submitted 10 entries for the 2014 Suncoast High School Television Awards for Excellence, or what we call the High School Emmy Awards. And they were all on the red carpet. These awards, presented by the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, are open to the entire state of Florida, parts of Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, and Puerto Rico. Today, we are very excited to share with you that our student interns were awarded 7 winners and 1 honorable mention. In fact, our district's student-produced news magazine show, Current Lee, won the Best Student-Produced Newscast for the 3rd consecutive year. Wow! The categories in which they won were newscast, news story, directing, sound, PSAs, editing, and music arrangement. The school board and the superintendent are pleased this evening to recognize and to congratulate the following students. Some of them will not be here this evening, but I'm going to call their name out because they deserve the recognition anyway. Hannah Grimm, a 2014 graduate from Cypress Lake High School. As I call your name, if you are here, please come up. There you go. Hey, go right over there.
I think you just have one that won't be here with us.
Okay, just one. All right, very good. Dylan Daladonis.
And he's the one that's not going to be here tonight.
And he's the one that's not going to be here, but he is from Fort Myers High School. Cameron Hafner, a 2014 graduate of North Fort Myers High School. Congratulations. Vince Sparcusi, a North Fort Myers High School graduate as well. Congratulations. Christopher Wood, a 2014 graduate of Lee Virtual School. Congratulations. You know, this is really impressive, the fact that the Lee County School District has won for the third consecutive year, but the fact that these students were able to bring home 7 awards out of all the awards that were given. This really speaks very highly of the caliber of students that we have working in TV productions that will move on one day to be producing those shows that all of you enjoy watching on TV. So please join me again as we congratulate them one more time. And I'm going to ask if Jason would like to say something, because I know that he works diligently with these students and he enjoys working with them. And if you would like to say something, please do.
Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Graham and board members, for this recognition. You know, we hear all the time about the negative coverage from the media, and to be fair, they do cover the positive stories, but perhaps not as often as we would like. As a communications department, we value our relationships with our local media, but our stance is to be proactive with telling our own district story. With our own district cable channel and multiple social media platforms, including our YouTube channel, our Twitter, our new district app, which hopefully everybody's downloading here tonight. And the technology has really shifted in our favor. These Lee Schools interns that you see here before you, they're leading that charge in telling our own district story and are a very big part of our outward communication strategy moving forward. I mean, who better to tell our district story than the students who are in our schools every day? Talk about an inside scoop. I'm very proud of these students and their accomplishments to be recognized by such a prestigious award and an organization like the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Congratulations, guys.
Good evening. At this time, I'd like to invite Marvin Getz to join me at the lectern. Mr. Getz is the president of the Lee County Association of Professional Substitute Teachers. The School District of Lee County is proud to announce the 7th annual formal recognition of outstanding substitute teachers. District teachers and school-based administrators were invited to nominate substitute teachers they recognized as having an outstanding commitment to students, quality instruction, and creativity in the delivery of that instruction. These substitute teachers have also built positive rapport with students, staff, and administration, and demonstrate knowledge of school rules and guidelines, even when responding to emergency situations. Through a collaborative effort of the Lee County Association of Professional Substitute Teachers, district administrators, and teachers, a committee was created to review hundreds of nominations and choose an outstanding substitute teacher from each level. At this time, the school board and the superintendent are pleased to recognize the following 2014 Substitute Teachers of the Year. From elementary level, Americus Washington. From the middle school level, David Bates. And from high school level, Fundador Rodriguez. Congratulations. And now I'm sure Mr. Getz would like to say something.
Members of the board and superintendent, on behalf of the substitute teachers, we'd like to say thank you, and we've presented you 3 of the very, very best. Fundador's first name, we don't call him Fundador, we call him Poppy. But if you're in a room with a lot of fathers and we say Poppy, in Spanish every male stands up just about. These people are the best of the best. They're there, they're diligent, they work, they're happy to go to work, they go above and beyond, and they really reflect the attitude of the district with the children. Tonight, the board recognizes them, and then on August the 13th, each one of them will receive a silver apple from the association at the orientation for substitute teachers, August 13th. One other thing I may say, we sometimes forget how important a substitute teacher is. I don't believe a district, any district in the nation, can operate without them. This year, we filled the position somewhere over 70,000 times, averaging 300 to 400 absentees daily throughout the district. And that means from the 8,000 teachers that we have. But that's 70,000, it's between 70,000 and 80 that we've covered classes. And as I've said in the past, a substitute teacher serves in the life of a child, K through 12, for 1 year total. Each child will serve some time with a substitute teacher, K through 12. So on behalf of the association, the school board, we want to say thank you to these 3 individuals.
I would like to ask Mrs. Mickey Stroh and Ms. Carrie Reddish to please join me at the lectern. They're not here. Okay, and the student's not here either. I'm just going to say that Nora Ramirez of Estero High School is the winner of the Character Education Digital Design Competition for the month of June. We are pleased to congratulate Nora for her creative design and supporting character education in our schools. Thank you. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Oh, okay.
I'm going to ask you to let me introduce Gina. Let me say a few things about her.
Who's Gina? Oh. And now we have a staff presentation to the board. Gina Sabiston, South Fort Myers High School. Welcome.
Shows your head. Okay, now it's on. There you go. Thank you very much, and thank you for taking time to let me present to the board tonight. And I want to thank Mrs. Dozier for letting me bend her ear while she was at our graduation. My name is Gina Sabiston. I am a teacher at South Fort Myers High School, and I've been with the district for about 18 years. During that entire time, I've been a yearbook advisor, and the average life of a yearbook advisor is about 2 to 3 years. So you either have a passion for it or you don't. And what I want to talk to you tonight about is our yearbook. I went ahead and put one up here so the whole audience could see. As you know, yearbooks are a traditional thing. Everybody gets one at the end of the year. They've been around for over 100 years. And while yearbook sales at my high school have been very steady for the past several years, I was concerned about the link between technology and the future and the traditional yearbook. And I had the opportunity to visit the Walsworth Publishing plant last summer, and while I was there, I previewed some amazing technology and decided that that would really be something that we wanted to include in our yearbook. So I took it back to the yearbook staff, and they definitely got on board. And while it didn't cost us a lot of extra money, it did cost us a lot of extra work, which was significant because sometimes the yearbook staff has to give up their Christmas vacation or their spring vacation to make sure that the book gets here on time. So the way the technology works is you take your smart device and you have to download an app. The app is called Aurasma. And what it allows us to do is it puts indicators in the pictures that are in the yearbook. So traditionally we would have 4 or 5 pictures on a page, and that's all that we could show of a particular event. But with this new technology, it allows us to create a movie and link that movie to the picture. So as the year progressed, we gathered all this footage, we decided what pictures we were going to put the indicators on, and then once we sent the book to the plant, we had about 1 month to get all the videos together. And so I'm going to show you an example of a couple of the videos. Now, it is new technology, and of course, it works with a camera. And for anybody who's into photography, one of the key things you need for a camera to operate well is light. So sometimes I have to tell the kids it can be a little tricky. You've got to make sure the page is flat. You have to make sure you have a good light. But hopefully everything will run nice and smooth tonight. So I've already downloaded the app. Okay. And it works actually before you even open the book. And this was the expensive part. The videos we did ourselves, but we actually had a graphic artist that created this image. So that kind of introduced our theme to the entire population of our school. And then as you go through the book, we took the wolf from the cover and we put a little indicator by the pictures. And so when you flip through the book, you see that indicator, and then you just take your smart device. Oh, yeah. Okay.
She's on homecoming.
Yeah.
The homecoming king for the 2013 is Eric.
That's probably not a good one to show because, as you can see, it doesn't rotate on the screen there. Let me flip to another one.
Wow.
Let's try this one. Okay, I'm a good problem solver, so let's go back to this one. What I wanted to do is when you start the video, if you double click on it twice, it holds it, and then you don't have to hold your device over the picture, but I'm just going to hold my device over the picture. That's okay. I've got one that goes in the right direction. One more. Third time's the charm, right? Let me try one more.
Do you like to learn?
All right, well, apparently we're having technical difficulty. But you get the idea. It enabled us to be able to provide so much more to the students and get that link for them where we included so many more pictures. And I even had one girl that came to me and said, you know, I wasn't in the yearbook. And I said, did you try the app? And then once she started looking at the app, she said, oh my gosh, you know what, I don't want a refund, I do want to keep my yearbook. So it's just been a great experience for the school, and it's a wonderful way to link technology with the past and make it meaningful for the kids. And we are one of only 100 schools in the entire nation that has this app.
And Jana, didn't you say that, aren't you the only school in the state of Florida that has this right now?
I believe we're the only school in Lee County. I have a friend up in Port Charlotte who has the same yearbook company, and when I told her about it, she kind of hustled to get some things done.
Okay.
And but we are the only school in Lee County, and we plan on putting it throughout more of the book next year. And I've provided each of you with a yearbook, and at the very front of the book are the directions on how to download the app. And as long as you follow those, you'll be golden, and you can see all of the different videos that are in the book.
Terrific. Thank you very
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gina, for being willing to come forth and do this for us.
At this time, we'll take a brief recess so that those who wish to leave may do so.
Yeah? Want a book?
So how do you, I do.
You can have one.
Thank you. I want to know how can other schools do that? Is it a
says you're ready now.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Martin, would you please address the issue of public comment?
School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a card and submitted that to me before the meeting began, you'll be called in the order of the card submitted. If you did not submit a card but still wish to address the school board this evening, the school board vice chair, Ms. Morgan, will give you an opportunity in a moment to express that desire. The rules concerning public comment to the school board are posted at the back of the room and include the requirement that any speaker who wishes to address the school board to endorse a purchase of a product or a service in which that speaker has a personal interest. The speaker must reveal that interest before making comment to the board. Speakers are reminded that they should confine their remarks to educationally relevant issues, that attacks on individuals and abusive comments will not be allowed. The school board does not respond during public comment time to remarks made by speakers. At the conclusion of public comment time, the school board chair may address concerns raised by speakers or may assign responsibility to the superintendent to do so. The time allowed per speaker is 3 minutes. Ms. Morgan, I have one card this evening.
Thank you. Is there anyone, Mr. Teuber? Anyone else on the other side of the auditorium who wishes to make public comment? No? Okay.
First speaker is Mr. Kevin Riegel.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I hope this day finds everybody well. I've been here for the last 5, 6, 7 school board meetings, and I'm sure most of you who have been here know why. You don't get many opportunities to stand up for what you believe in life or what you know is right, despite what others tell you, but you have to do it, no matter what the cost, no matter what the effect. And meeting after meeting, I thank you for allowing me to come up here and express my views. Thank you very much, and for that, I am very grateful. We all know that I brought up 3 issues, and I hear some things are being done behind the scenes, so I will hold off the majority of my comments while things are taking place. However, I do still want to continue to, as one person in the audience said, beat this drum, and yes, that is true. Our students are our greatest #1 asset. It was an honor and a privilege to be at Lehigh Senior High, especially since it is a mostly minority-based community, Hispanics and African Americans. And when I saw their livelihood put in jeopardy, their safety, and their education, I could have done what everybody else mostly did, which was stay quiet for the good of the district. I did what I was compelled to do legally by law, and that is to speak, to bring these cases forward, that a paraprofessional cannot be teaching kids alone, that it risks all 100 of their education, and it's against the law. That people who did not have licenses because they were suspended of DUIs were driving kids around, and that wasn't right. That a person who was later convicted on 3 counts of pedophilia was sent around kids even after repeated warnings. At some time, you have to put your livelihood in front and say, this isn't right. This needs to continue to be rectified. And I understand that the threat to the district was money. If everybody sued, we'd be looking at $50, $60 million in lawsuit liability. We understand that. What we've always wanted and why I've always been here is this. I want those students to know that their education was harmed, that it wasn't a substitute teacher, but it was a para teaching them, and you give them recourse. I want them to know that people who shouldn't have been driving them or being around them, that you're taking care of this. This is why a few board meetings ago, I brought up a few motions for you guys to take action because our superintendent wasn't. Okay? That's why I come to these meetings. There was no greater thing on earth than to help our students, and especially when most of these students have only one parent, if that. We have to protect them. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Mr. Teuber.
honorable board members, Dr. Graham, Mr. Martin. I come here for two things. The first one is in your personal assignments today, you will be making some appointments, some moves, and some changes. One of the things you'll acknowledge is is that one of our teachers is deceased. And I just want to say, I would ask, I have to leave to attend an event to be here, but I would ask that you would take a moment of silence in honor of Miss Janet Bales. Miss Janet Bales was an elementary teacher at Diplomat. For the 8 years, every time I visited that school, my daughter had to go seek out Janet Bales because she was her kindergarten teacher. She was the epitome of a kindergarten teacher, and the love that she showed each of her children every year is an honor to this district, and I would just like to take a moment to give her respect. The second issue that I'm bringing forth on a business matter is that before you today is some changes that Dr. Graham has brought forth to eliminate. One of the positions is to eliminate our architect. Being the 8th district, largest district in the state of Florida, we would be the only school district that wouldn't have an in-house architect for the top 10 districts in our state. We outsource that work. For example, just the job that just got outsourced to put the bathrooms in this unit here back by the gyms is about a $30,000 architectural job. I'm not sure the number. I didn't get that time to get that information. But our in-house architect is critical for everything we do because it is written in 47 different locations in Florida statute of things we need to do that only a degreed or architect, a state certified architect can do. So we would have to outsource that work. So I would implore you to take a look at your construction, your operation budget to see if there's a way that you can keep an in-house architect and just look at the cost savings analysis between outsourcing that work and having one in-house and the efficiencies that creates. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the superintendent if you wish to comment on Mr. Teuber's comment regarding the architect.
I can tell you that the projection is there is about 20 hours worth of work at the most right now for an architect. And there are also some issues with the person that was in that position that I'd rather not talk about at the table. I have that information to share with the board, just got it this afternoon late. Our projection is that we will need a full-time architect probably in 4 years. But in the meantime, we believe that project managers can do much of the work. And I'm happy to share with the board other information about that position.
And I think what I will do is ask the board members and the audience to take a moment of silence independently of this board meeting in recognition of Janet Bales and her contribution to the district. Thank you. Next is the approval of action items in the agenda under consent. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under the unfinished business tabled items portion of the agenda? Mrs. Fisher.
I have none this evening, thank you.
Mrs. Dozier.
I have none this evening.
Mr. Armstrong.
I have none.
Miss
Morgan, do you have any?
I have none. Is there a motion to approve the agenda's consent action items with approve the agenda's consent action items?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Dozier, seconded by Mrs. Fisher. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Dr. Graham, would you please read your recommendations?
I recommend board approval to award bid number B147175TA for bakery products to Flowers Baking Company of Bradenton, LLC for the period of July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2015 at the estimated annual expenditure for the first year of $500,000 as indicated on the attached tabulation sheet with renewal options for 2 additional one-year periods upon the written agreement of the vendors in the district. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher, seconded by Mrs. Dozier. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
I recommend board approval to piggyback Collier County Schools bid number 74-1/14 for AC parts, equipment, and supplies awarded to multiple vendors from June 24, 2014 through June 23, 2015 at the estimated expenditure of $900,000 with an option to cancel if deemed to be in the best interest of the district. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Dozier. Supported by Mrs. Fisher. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
I recommend board approval to award bid number B147180JM for Navistar International OEM parts to Wallace International Trucks, Inc. for the period of June 24, 2014 through June 23, 2015 at the estimated annual expenditure of $1,200,000 with an option to cancel if deemed in the best interest of the district. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Dozier, seconded by Mrs. Fisher. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
I recommend board approval to renew bid number B137118BC for fresh milk and other dairy products to Board and Dairy Company of Florida for the first renewal period of July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2015 at the estimated expenditure of $3,500,000 pursuant to the same terms and conditions as previously approved by the board. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Dozier, seconded by Mrs. Fisher. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
I recommend board approval of the renewal contracts for occupational therapy, physical therapy, certified occupational therapy assistants, and physical therapy assistants, and an estimated expenditure of $806,000 effective July 1, 2014 through July 31, 2015.
Board members, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher, seconded by Mrs. Dozier. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
May I just comment on that last one, because there are two that sound very similar. These are projected amounts, and we only pay for the services we use.
Thank you.
I recommend board approval of the service agreements for speech, language, and occupational therapy services with Community Rehab Associates, Inc., with the estimated maximum cost to not exceed $1,600,000 for the 2014-15 school year.
Board members, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Dozier, seconded by Mrs. Fisher. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Dr. Graham,
Yes.
do we have an estimate of how much we do use out of that? And how many schools use this? Adding these numbers together, it's a very large amount on both of them.
Yes, it is. The total is $4,870,395. These are positions that are in national shortage, and these are professionals that basically do the work as consultants because they can make more money that way than if they were to actually be hired by the school district. This covers all students with disabilities receiving speech, language, occupational, and/or physical therapy. There's a wide range of services and time that are provided for students. It's defined within each IEP. The students that are eligible for receiving IEP services for speech, there are 2,746 students. There are 4,801 students that are eligible to receive services for language based on their IEP. There are 1,808 that are eligible for occupational therapy. And there are 396 that are eligible for physical therapy. So what I can get for you, Mr. Armstrong, that I don't have is what we spent this year. But we don't know until the students begin receiving the services to what extent they're going to need them, and that's what determines the cost.
And I guess where I'm going with this is $4 million annually is pretty much what you're telling me, is how many basically occupational therapists would we need to cover what we have, and would it be cheaper to look at maybe going out and recruiting them?
We can't pay them what they can pay doing it privately. That's the issue. Our salary structure, and this isn't unusual, this isn't unique to Lee County.
Oh, and I know that. I just didn't know if it was something that we've looked into, I believe.
Over time, the district, I haven't looked into it recently, but I can do that and get you the going rate for them, but it's highly unlikely that we would be able to get anybody that would be willing to work at the salary we could afford to pay them. But I'll get you that information, give you what the rates are. And I'll also get you what we spent this year overall.
Thank you.
Any other comments? No. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
I recommend board approval of the service agreements for speech language, occupational therapy, and physical therapy services with Soliant Health, Inc. at an estimated maximum cost to the district of $1,750,000 for the 2014-15 school year.
Board members, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
By Mrs. Fisher, seconded by Mrs. Dozier. Any discussion? Mrs. Dozier.
I'll just say, this does seem like a lot of money that we are spending, but the public should understand that every one of these students that are special needs students has an individual academic plan that is written for them specifically. And in those plans, it actually states that they are to receive certain services. And by law, the school district of Lee County is compelled to have those services and make sure that every student's IEP is met. So I will be supporting this.
Any other?
Yeah,
Yes.
and I just want to say that we are servicing nearly 10,000 students each year. And still at that, nearly $5 million is a lot of money. And so I guess I would ask, and I asked one of these questions of Dr. Graham already, but I know that the consultants come into the schools and perform the services. I don't know what it would cost us if we would pay for them to go to local health institutions to get the services. And is there a possibility that we can collect on health insurance and or Medicaid as a third-party provider?
I'll have to get answers to those questions.
Thank you.
Okay. No? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries 4-0.
I recommend board approval of the district's organization for FY15 as presented, to include the revisions to and adoption of job descriptions as presented to reflect changes in the district's organization effective July 1, 2014.
Board members, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Dozier.
Yes, this afternoon at the briefing meeting, I told the superintendent that I would be asking one question this evening, and so that Dr. Desimore could be prepared for that answer. And the question was, what was the total cost of the 13-14 organizational chart, and what is the total cost of the 14-15 proposed recommended chart that we're receiving this evening?
Hello. Thank you for the heads up on the question. We worked on that this afternoon. The total organizational chart for FY14 of this current fiscal year was $68.8 million. When we take into account the changes that we are making in the other parts of the budget in order to account for the changes we're making to the organization, the total fiscal impact for the new organizational chart is about $300,000. The new organizational chart in total will be $71.5 million. Again, the total fiscal impact about $300,000.
Thank you. Can I continue?
Yes.
Dr. Graham, with this being a $300,000 increase, and I realize that last year you were in a hot seat when you were having to put your organization chart together. In fact, you had probably a mere days to put it together, and you didn't have time to work with staff, which you had to do it in a silo, so to speak. And I would anticipate that you have had the opportunity to work with staff on this, and you anticipate that we're going to have a more effective, efficient run school district, and it's going to get us closer to being a world-class system. Is that what I can anticipate?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Then I will be able to support this evening.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes, and after listening to Dr. Atkins' presentation this afternoon with regard to teacher turnover and the millions that costs us, I will also be supporting this because we are anticipating that we're going to have a significant return on investment due to a decrease in staff turnover, which in addition to the dollar savings will benefit our most important members, our students. Remember, we said relationships are important. Thank you.
Mrs. Dozier?
And thank you for getting the information that we asked for on the architect, and I'll look forward to seeing the rest of that information later.
Mr. Armstrong?
So from my understanding, we went from 78.8 million to 71 million.
68.8.
That's why I said 68.8.
Yeah.
No, you said 78.
Did I? Wait, I'm sorry. That was wishful thinking. The 71, but a lot of that has to do with transportation and bringing on full-time bus drivers, if I understand correctly. So it was, and then looking at what we spend in teacher turnover, it's roughly about $7.5 million annually is what it costs us in teacher turnover. So if this is going to save us from losing some very valuable teachers, experienced teachers and new teachers, then I'm all favor for this. I will be supporting this, Dr. Graham, and I thank you for bringing this to us. And I look forward to seeing your report next year of how this is helping us. And thank you so much for all your hard work and your staff's hard work.
Thank you.
I guess I should comment as well. I don't think I'll be supporting this. And I've had a conversation with Dr. Graham about it, and I have really struggled with this decision. But I lack confidence in the way it was done, and I lack confidence in the processes that we have in place to position people into the positions being created on this organization chart. So unfortunately, I can't support it this evening. Any other discussion? No. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-1. I'm sorry. Any opposed, like sign, aye. Motion carries 3-1. Dr. Graham?
Isn't it you now? That's all.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. It's Mr. Martin.
Yes, Ms. Morgan, board members, I have one recommendation this evening, which is for approval of the annual expenditure for legal services from the law firm of Grant, Fritkin, Pearson from July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2015 in the amount of $80,000.
You have heard the attorney's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher, seconded by
Support.
Mr. Armstrong. Any discussion? Mr. Armstrong.
Mr. Martin, we retained this same firm, was it last year?
Yes, sir. In April last year, you approved that contract for the purpose of filling some of the duties that were lost by the decision not to fill the position of assistant school board attorney. So this will be the second year.
And in your humble opinion, have they been very beneficial to the school district? Since obviously that's something you watch very closely.
Yes, sir. I've been pleased with the services that have been provided, and the cost, as I recall, the annual fiscal cost of filling that position when it was last filled, I believe, was $146,000. So the $80,000 requested obviously provides a cost saving, and then in this past year, the actual amount expended was approximately $40,000.
Thank you so much. I'll be supporting this.
Other comments? No. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Before closing the regular meeting and opening the public meeting, Dr. Graham, please present your recommendation for this evening's public hearing item.
I recommend board approval of the renewal to the contract for Bonita Springs Preparatory and Fitness Academy, Inc. for Bonita Springs Preparatory and Fitness Academy, a K-8 grade school covering a term of 5 years from July 1, 2014 to June 30, 2019.
We will now recess the regular school board meeting and open the public hearing. As indicated, the public hearing this evening is to consider contract renewal for Bonita Springs Preparatory and Fitness Academy, Inc. for Bonita Springs Preparatory and Fitness Academy. At this time, the public is invited to speak on this one item. The time allowed for comment is 3 minutes. Is there anyone on the right side of the auditorium who wishes to speak? Anyone on the left? I will now close this public hearing and reconvene the regular school board meeting of June 24th, 2014. Dr. Graham, please restate your recommendation for this evening's public hearing item.
I recommend board approval of the renewal to the contract for Bonita Springs Preparatory and Fitness Academy, Inc. for Bonita Springs Preparatory and Fitness Academy, a K-8 grade school covering a term of 5 years from July 1, 2014 to June 30, 2019.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher, seconded by Mrs. Dozier. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Okay. Board member comments and reports. Mrs. Fisher.
Thank you, Mrs. Morgan. Yes, I just want to say that I had an opportunity to attend the Florida School Boards Association Summer Conference. And during the closing session of that conference, there was an announcement about master board members who had received an ABC award, Advanced Boardsmanship Certification, which is designed to recognize proactive school board members. And I want to congratulate Mrs. Dozier for being one of the recipients announced at that meeting. So good work, and please continue that. Also at the conference, we had an opportunity to attend a lot of different workshops, and I'm not going to bore you with most of them. The keynote speaker was Quint Studer, who has written A Culture of High Performance and Hardwiring Excellence. He's a Baldrige Quality Award winner. He's a healthcare professional, a university professor. And he said, "People like to be settled, but only as far as they are unsettled is there hope for change." The closing session was Judge Stephen Teskey from Clayton County, Georgia, and he was talking regarding the school-to-prison pipeline. And when I heard his presentation, I got really excited, because some of you who sit here meeting after meeting might know that whenever it's time for code of conduct, I have comments about the need for interventions and the need for doing something other than out-of-school suspension, which puts kids in a position where they often end up out in the streets and into the juvenile justice system. And so Judge Teskey said, when did making adults mad become a crime, first of all? And he also said that good people in a broken system sometimes will make poor decisions. Who would think that keeping kids in school would increase graduation rates? We do need alternatives to out-of-school suspension. What are they? Alternative school placement, family alternative, parent-involved workshops, and building a bridge between the school system and the community. We need to consider the way the adolescent brain works, and we know from 40 years of research that punishment alone increases recidivism, and intervention is needed. The impact of zero-tolerance policies on campus has rendered a 1,000% increase in juvenile arrests. We need to look at the risks, and we now know what works: school connectedness. In Clayton County, a cooperative agreement was developed. Youth first receive warnings, and after a second offense, Mr. Dodig's not here, they are referred to mediation or school conflict training programs. Elementary students cannot be referred to law enforcement for misdemeanor delinquent acts at all. As a result, police officers' relationships with students on campuses have improved, allowing students to be more comfortable and often providing critical information on serious crimes when necessary. The presence of dangerous weapons on campuses has decreased by 70%. There has been an 87% decrease in fighting offenses and a 36% decrease in other focus acts, which include disorderly conduct, obstruction of an officer, or disrupting a public school. 86 and 64% decreases in referrals for fighting and disruption of public schools. And a lot of this was specifically targeted to measure those instances involving African American youth who by evidence of research are the ones who primarily are put into the school to prison pipeline. Graduation rates have increased by 20% since the protocol was implemented. The school system and the county commission in Clayton County share the cost. They added some private funders, some foundations, and WOW. And their courthouse is now called Youth Development and Justice Center. That was just food for thought. I want to thank my fellow board members, superintendent, and staff for all of their hard work. And I'm hoping that during the summer break, our kids are safe, well-fed, that they're reading and playing and having fun just being kids. Thank you.
Mrs. Dozier.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank my fellow board members that attended the FSBA conference recently, and I want to thank you personally for attending the Board of Directors meeting on my behalf, and thank you for the in-depth reports that you provided for us. I really appreciate that, and I would like to congratulate you publicly and announce to the public that you are going to be you are the new sitting Secretary-Treasurer of the Greater Florida Consortium of School Boards, and in that position you will move up to the President of that position, and it will once again put Lee County in the spotlight. So congratulations on being selected for that position, and I know that you will do an outstanding job in that. I had the opportunity to speak with someone this afternoon, and it concerns me, and Dr. Graham, I'd like for you to, I hadn't thought about this, but somebody called me and said that students are allowed to have earbuds in the hallways, and that it presents a emergency situation in the event that the teacher has to make some kind of a call or something like that. That is something we might need to talk about.
As a principal, if students had, in some classes, teachers allow it, like in an art class, some classes where they're listening to music. As a principal, if they were in the hall, I required they had one out because it was a security issue, but we can certainly talk to the principals about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. If we could do that.
Because it is, if they're both on, it is a safety issue, they can't hear.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because if the teacher were to give directions,
Absolutely.
like fire or something,
Exactly.
and they had both, I know how loud they had those things, and they wouldn't be able to hear it. So thank you for taking care of that. Also, I'd like to take the opportunity to bid farewell to somebody who's been with this school district for a very long time, Dr. Connie Jones. In fact, and I wish her all the best. I had the opportunity to attend one of her going away parties. It is a bittersweet goodbye. She's served the district long, she's served the district well, and I wish her all the best as she moves to Pueblo, Colorado, to become the next superintendent of that school district. I wish her nothing but success, and I know that she will be successful there with all of the skills that she has. I also had an opportunity just to run to Tampa just for the day to meet with Dr. Blanton and board members. I will tell you that we are working on a project that is going to go statewide, and it is something that's going to benefit hopefully every school district in the state of Florida. And there are several of us that are working on that project, and I'm looking forward to us rolling that out at a future day. That's all the information that I can talk about right now, but you will be hearing a lot more about it in the near future. So, also, I've had the opportunity the past week to speak with several employees, and the majority of them that I spoke with, they came into my office and we had little short mini meetings, and just for them to tell me about their year, and it was all positive. They all talked about what a wonderful year they had and how everything was really good. So I think that speaks a lot for what went on this year during the school year. So I appreciate that very much. And I know even though Miss Gina Sabiston is not here, I want to thank her because the night of graduation, she sat here and she was showing me this that you sit here and you hold this over a picture in the yearbook, your technological device that you're using, whether it be your smartphone or whether it be your iPad or whatever device, you put it over there, and then all of a sudden you see a video, and it's like, voila. And she wasn't able to get it, technology, she wasn't able to get it to work tonight. But another thing that she didn't tell y'all that's really interesting is that you can take this and put it over a dollar bill and accomplish the same thing going into the yearbook. I didn't quite see how that worked, but it had to be a $10 bill. She took someone's $10 bill and showed me that night. So just all sorts of interesting things. I mean, she had the correlation between money and the yearbook and technology, and I mean, it was too much for this little brain, let me tell you. Anyway, I want to thank her. And Dr. Desamore, I know this afternoon at the last minute I told you that I was going to be asking you a question, and I know when we don't have a lot of time in between meetings, I know that took some time for you to go and do that, so I appreciate the fact that you did that. Dr. Graham, I want to thank you for your leadership this past year during the school year. I also would like to thank all our administrators, all of our teachers, all of our staff employees for everything, for having a good year. I look forward to the opening of school next year. I know that we're going to have a great year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the efficiency of this organization.
I was waiting for that. I knew it was coming.
And here it is. So I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you very much.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes, thank you. A couple of things I've been working on lately. First, last week I got to go to see the North Myers Academy of the Arts Steel Drum Band play for the last time, the 8th graders. They put on an excellent performance. Doug Santini was there. And it's always warms my heart when I see some of the teachers show up and they say they miss school being in. They enjoy teaching that much, and they start missing their school only after a few short weeks. So that speaks volume of that school and that principal and what he's doing there. But on to another note that I wanted to bring to my colleagues. I've had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Martin about this and Dr. Graham. And looking at our impact fees, and I just got this information. I do apologize for not being able to show provide you with the amount. But I figured I'd just give you the rundown. In the East Zone, we have $4.1 million in impact fees. In the South Zone, we have $28 million. Now, some of that is still being spent on Dunbar. And then in the West, we have $8 million, a grand total of $40 million, .9, which is a lot of money. But we can only use it right now in certain areas for obvious reasons, and it's written in the statute from the county commissioners. What I'd like to do is, and I've spoke to a county commissioner just recently, and he'd be open to discuss it more, but I would like to submit a letter to give us a little bit more leniency of where we can use this. Mr. Martin, I know I've spoke to you about this, and you had some legal advice that the board might come back to us on. Could you maybe explain a little bit?
Yes, sir. I'd be happy to address that. The county ordinance as it exists at this time does require that the school impact fees be spent in the zones within which they're collected. Fees collected in the East Zone have to be spent to create new student stations in the East Zone. There's a basic concept with respect to impact fees in the state of Florida that requires that the fee payer benefit from the use of those fees, and that's why that limitation is in place. Yet, if you were to do the research to look at school impact fees in other districts across the state, you would find that many, and I believe most, do not have those form of limitations, that school impact fees that are collected within the district can be used anywhere within the district, based upon the reasoning that anytime you create a new student station in one portion of the district, that by doing so, you're benefiting a residential development in another part of the school district by preserving the capacity that exists in that area. So, with respect to other school districts, I do believe most do not have that limitations, have the ability to just spend the fees anywhere in the district. So that would be a reasonable request. Certainly would anticipate the commissioners would want to seek legal advice from their counsel on that potential change, and any change would have to be prospective. That is, the rules could not change with respect to fees that have already been collected.
Now, I did talk to Dr. Desamore about this as well, and she had a few thoughts on that. So, if, Dr. Desamore, if you could maybe approach and explain some of the things that you were suggesting and how this might benefit and help us.
Yes, currently right now we use, as Mr. Martin was explaining, our impact fees are divided up by zone, and that is the way that we currently use them right now. There are several major things that we've used them for over the past several years. Number one, the purchase of land, and we've not purchased any land for a little while. Number two, the building of new student stations, and when we build new schools, it's everything that goes into that new school as well. So any of the technology, furniture, so on and so forth. And then the last thing would be debt service. That is, when we borrow money in order to build schools, we can use the impact fees to pay back the debt service that we, the mortgage payment basically that we have to pay because we borrow money to build those new schools. So within the impact fee plan over the next 5 years, because we don't have any student stations built in, we're using all of our impact fees at this point for, besides Dunbar, we have a lot of the South Zone impact fees slated for Dunbar, but then beyond that, we're using our impact fees for debt service. So to pay basically our principal and interest payments on our debt is what we have planned for the next several years. One of the things that I was saying as we were having the conversation that we might want to petition the Board of County Commissioners for is not only where we can use them, or that is to get some flexibility as to where we can use them, just because the impact fees were gathered in the South, so to speak, that we can't then turn and utilize those funds in the East. So the where is an important piece of flexibility, but also the what is an important piece of flexibility. So if we had some additional flexibility as to what we spent that money on, because at this point we can spend the money on technology if it's related to a whole new school we're building. If we can get some additional flexibility to be able to spend it, for example, for technology, but not necessarily in a new school, because of the fact that we are expanding all over the district and our technology mandates are expanding, then that also would be a helpful piece of flexibility. So the where and also the what.
Thank you, Dr. Desamore. So what I'm suggesting is, as right now, our vice chair, is maybe we can draft a letter and start off by sending it to the county commissioners, looking at things that we would like to suggest a little bit more flexibility on it, since I know they did limit what we have in, and it would help us alleviate some of the stress in different areas. And as vice chair, maybe you can address that, draft a letter, get with Mr. Martin or something, and I'm just trying to come up with different ideas that might be able to help us alleviate some of the little things going on here. And it's just a thought, and I was hoping to get everybody's opinion tonight, or maybe in the next few days an email shot out, and or talk to Dr. Graham and then go from there. No, please, go ahead.
Board members?
That's
comments?
fine with me to go ahead and move forward with that.
Okay. Yes. All right. Yes, Mr. Martin?
Just one further piece of advice. The where is certainly something that the school board can reasonably make a request. That the what is a little bit more difficult.
Okay.
Because those fees have to be used for the purpose of addressing growth, establishing new student stations. So using them to address the growth created by the legislature in new technology requirements is difficult. It needs to be addressed to address the growth in the need for new student stations because of the increase in the student population.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then the other small thing, the architect, and my question on that is, what do we pay an architect right now, annually, yearly, and Do we have those figures? I don't remember seeing it right offhand.
The salary was 114 or 104? 111, sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought it was. Sorry, but I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't misreading that right incorrectly. So it's 111, and if I remember correctly, right now it's only, did you say 20 hours?
That's the projection.
Projection right now. I mean, I can understand right now why we don't really need an architect full-time right now. So that's something that I was fully supportive of, but I figured I'd ask, because that's a lot of money that somebody's not being able to do something at the time. So I thought that was the right idea. The other thing I did want to talk to you, Dr. Graham, this directly. Obviously, the fire alarms, the safety, what is going on with it? I know you touched a little bit on it today. You know, I'm big on holding people accountable. This is also, if you remember, we had a meeting at the beginning of the year, and I wanted to form some type of committee, a safety committee, basically, to go out and see what was, and that's part of that we could have implemented. Because I think our student safety should be one of our top priorities as well. And I don't always think that a committee should be just sitting there discussing it. They should be able to go out and see what's going on with these schools, surprise drills, to make sure that people are constantly aware of what's going on, but also to hold people accountable for their actions. How are we holding people accountable? Are you planning on it? And how are you going to be implementing and holding people accountable in the future?
As I mentioned this afternoon, we'll be back on, I'll be giving a recommendation on July 29th, because part of this is a policy issue. We need to take the two policies that we have about drills and turn them into one that is consistent, and also look at DOE's recommendation to be sure we're aligned with that. That conversation's occurring tomorrow to begin to craft that recommendation. What was reported in the news is based on information that was given to the news. It was inaccurate. And part of the reason it was inaccurate is because we had a flawed process. That's what it's about, process. I will tell you that, as I said to the reporter, I don't believe our children were ever in true danger. The number of drills that were reported as not happening is much higher than is the reality. Drills did happen in every school, so there was practice. Obviously, the goal is that you practice often, and that's what we were missing. But it is clearly a process issue. There was an attempt by some to place blame in different departments. One of the reasons we wanted the safety and security department before that report came out, it really was just affirmation that we were moving in the right direction. Nobody owned the process. And the people who have a piece of drills and emergency practices were in multiple areas. And then there's a level of responsibility at the school as well. So what we're doing right now is we are going through the documentation that the maintenance department had. Interestingly enough, that's where fire drill information was kept, which is just baffling to me. And we are comparing that to the documents that the schools kept, because schools are required to keep a copy of whatever they send in as far as drills, what time they happened, how long they took, how many students were involved, et cetera, et cetera. And we are cross-referencing, because the information that was kept as the official record on our end is not nearly as complete as what the schools kept. So as far as holding people accountable, what I told the schools and what I've told the departments involved, we're all accountable. There's not really any point in looking for blame, because I honestly think this was a process that just nobody owned, and it will now be owned by the Safety and Security Department, and I think we'll have much better progress. Also, the report reflected 2 years, and 12-13 and 13-14, so I have to take responsibility for this year, and that's what I'm focusing on.
You know, and I appreciate that, but as a board member, I'll have to say I have to take just as much responsibility, because I do sit up here with you as well.
Well, thank you. We're going to fix it.
You know, and, you know, I just need to see where you're going, and I look forward to your report at the next meeting. The other thing I just wanted to touch base is, Ms. Morgan, thank you so much for your hard work that you put in at FSBA. The reports that you've given us and sent to us, very thorough. And I wanted to say thank you publicly. Ms. Fisher, you too, thank you so much for all your hard work and for going up there. And I know, Ms. Dozier, you've been recognized up there, and I know that's a great accomplishment, and thank you so much. All the hard work you put in for this district and these students. On that note, that's about all I have for tonight. Thank you very much.
And you all indulged me this afternoon, so I will pass this evening. Mr. Martin?
No comments this evening, thank you.
Graham?
Okay, I did it again, and we have a lot of people here to introduce from personnel. I apologize, but I think it's healthy for principals to sit in a board meeting every now and then and just see exactly what goes on.
You said it's a requirement now.
No, it's not a requirement. I thought I'd introduce the transfers first. These are principals that were already in place that are going to have a new assignment, and they are here, and one is Dr. Lohmeyer. And if you all would stand when I say your name. She's moving from ALC Central to Buckingham Exceptional Center. You know that Bill Elkin is retiring in July. So Ruthie. And going from Cape Coral High to North Fort Myers High, Matt Medeiros. You know what's really cool? I'm looking out there, and he's got his staff that he's. This is nice that APs came to support their new and leaving principals. Clayton Simmons is leaving Oak-Hammock Middle and taking over to Estero High because Mr. Clover retired. And Scott Cook is leaving Varsity Lakes Middle to take over Cape Coral High. And when I met with each of these principals individually, it was great fun to see the different reactions. Some were right into, well, now we need to do this, and others just sort of stared. Really? But they weren't nearly as much fun as the next group, and these are, there is one other transfer, and I don't know, is Denise here? Okay. But the rest of these are new principals. Well, one is not. That's a lie. Let me do one more. She's transferring, but she's not transferring from a school here. She's coming from Collier County, and her name is Jody Moorhead, a very successful principal in Collier County for many, many years, and she is going to be the principal at Three Oaks Elementary since Dr. Parks retired. Jody, how long have you been a principal? That's what I thought. Okay, thank you. She started when she was 112, yes, that's what I was going to say that. Okay, and new principals, and this is always very exciting when your first principalship, we were all reminiscing on, do you remember where you were when they told you? And so becoming the principal at Allen Park, Jenny Moore has retired, is Lisa Eastridge, and Lisa is on vacation and asked if she could come back, should come back a day early, and I said absolutely not, that it'd be okay if she wasn't here. So. We also have Jennifer Snedden, who opened Oak-Hammock with Clayton Simmons, and now she's going to go from APC to principal there. Nathan Shaker is going from assistant principal at Cypress Lake Middle to become the principal at Paul Lawrence Dunbar. That's because Sharice Trent, who's also on vacation, is moving to Edison Park because Dr. Brunick has finished his career with our district. And then we have from East Lee County High, Nikita Watson, who is assistant principal, is now going to be the principal at Lehigh Middle. And the Lehigh community knows her well and appreciates her, so I think it's going to be a great fit. Damon Essert is leaving North Fort Myers High as the assistant principal and going to Varsity Lakes Middle as principal. Damon. Baby girl's very excited. And I feel like I've forgotten somebody. Oh, yes, okay, because I was doing the principals first. Okay. Jennifer Edwards, who has been a master teacher in the Curriculum Service Department, is now going to be part of Curriculum and Staff Development as our math expert since Jim Propert has retired. And Shanna Fletcher is also on vacation. She was the principal on assignment for the TIF grant, and she is now going to be the School Development Executive Director for elementary school, replacing Dr. Jones. So congratulations to all. You know, you talked about Dr. Jones and how much she's given to this district and all. That's true. I told the principals that the amazing thing is she's going to a district of 18,000 students. All the schools are in turnaround status. So she's really got her work cut out for her, but that's impressive that she's willing to take it on. But she'll do well. Analyzing situations and figuring out where to take them is one of her strengths. My other comments, the South Yearbook Advisor made the comment that the average span, I think she said, was 2 years for a yearbook advisor. And I thought back, I was a yearbook advisor for 8 years, so I'm not sure what that says about me, but we did not have technology. The big technology move my last year as a yearbook advisor was that we got to do the index on the computer and see if it would work. So that's a sad but true story. So, but we had to paste the pictures and hope they got there and paste it on the right page, and my word, it was amazing. So things have certainly changed. That was really exciting to see. I want to congratulate our communications department. Last week at the Florida Administrators Association, Sunspray was there. That's the Sunshine State School Public Relations Association. And 2 of our promotional videos won statewide recognition. One was our student assignment, the Lee County Way promotional video. It not only won for the promotional video category, but also won Best of Show. And the second one was under the themed promotion category, and it was our Happy About Accreditation video. So we're very excited that they got that recognition, and Jason and Kyle and Amity were all there, and it was fun to see them get some recognition for their hard work. I also want to thank you for the support of the org chart. I want you to know that it was developed with long-term vision in mind, and the goal is that there be improvement in the quality and there be improvement in the support of schools, and then we take a quality approach to that. And of course, there will be tremendous improvement in efficiency as a result of our org chart. Also, I've been asked to remind everybody that's listening and everybody that's here, the school board app is now available. The Lee County Schools, you just go to Lee County Schools. It's the black and gold one because there are some other Lee counties apparently around the world, and ours is the black and gold one, and it's similar to what ParentLink has been for parents, but now the community can go on and they don't get the same information parents get, but they can choose schools that they want to follow. It's just a tremendous way to keep in touch with our district. So if you haven't downloaded it, please do, because Amity will probably find you if you don't. And it was 1 year ago, last Thursday, that I was sworn in as the superintendent, and I said when I was sworn in that I was honored and excited to serve the district, and that remains true today. So thank you very much, and you all have a wonderful July. I know you enjoy a few weeks without having a meeting, so we will be back on July 29th to begin anew.
Thank you. The next scheduled meeting of the board on July 29th, 2014, there is a school board workshop at 2 p.m. Then there is a special school board meeting for public hearing to adopt the fiscal year 15 tentative budget at 5:05 p.m., as well as a school board action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, having no other business to come before this body, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So
Mrs. Fisher?
Second.
Mrs. Dozier, thank you.
Good evening.